Hello and welcome back to Skypothesis. We are two brothers who believe Skyrim to be an endlessly replayable game. It is our hope that this channel will inspire you to return to the game with new ideas and a deeper roleplay experience. While other RPGs may be newer, shinier, have better graphics, none of them scratch the same itch as Skyrim. We love pushing this game to its limits and want to share our findings with all of you. And this time we are sharing a bloodthirsty and brilliant bandit lord who desires power and riches at any cost. He has a particular fascination with Nordic tombs and the riches found therein. Living in the wilderness in his bandit tower and using the mantle of the Gray Fox to hide his crimes, this orc lights his enemies ablaze with his trusty torch and tears them apart with an enchanted pickaxe. This is the Iron Raider, and he may be the most metal build we've ever created. The sun rose over the stronghold. Light filtered through the mountain peaks and touched the matted earth as the tribe came to life with the sound of goats braying, the ringing of malachite being shaped in the smithy, and the shouting of combat exercises. The day was just beginning, but for the young Iron Raider it was ending. He dragged his pickaxe behind him as he emerged from the belly of the mine, exhausted, until he collapsed on his cot. Day after day of swinging his pickaxe made him strong, and unlike some of his peers, he did not quit when he met quota. He pushed his body to its limits, growing thick cords of muscle, impressive even for a stronghold orc. His obsession with extracting precious things from the earth fueled him to keep digging, deeper and deeper, until one day he broke through a wall in the mine and discovered an ancient crypt. Fascinated with this ancient world of a culture so different from his own, his torch illuminated a shining glass helmet. It crackled with electricity. It had been crafted by an ancient enchanter. Amazed, the raider brought it to the surface, where it was immediately seized by the chief, who claimed it belonged to the tribe. The raider felt rage consume him. After toiling for the good of the tribe for his entire life, could he not have just this one thing for himself? This one glorious discovery? The rage blinded him and he raised his pickaxe and buried its point in the chief's collarbone when his back was turned. In orcish culture, strength is determined by might, and anyone could challenge the chief. But assaulting him while his back was turned was the ultimate dishonor. He was exiled from the tribe and forced to wander. It didn't take him long to join a nearby bandit gang and start raiding villages and plundering for riches. He felt no remorse for killing his chief, and he felt no remorse in his pillaging. He knew now that strength, riches, plunder, and leadership was not earned, it was taken. It did not take long for him to become the chief of his bandit gang. He ruled with an iron fist, exhibiting not only terrifying feats of strength, but admirable cunning and pragmatism. One day they robbed a research cart heading south from the Jarl Mountains, and the Iron Raider was fascinated by the ancient Nordic artifacts in the cart. "Where came you by these?" the raider asked the terrified researcher. "Skyrim, sir. The lands are teeming with ancient tombs." The raider needed to hear no more. He immediately called for his gang to ride north to the border. They were caught completely by surprise by the Imperial ambush. All were slaughtered save their leader, who the Legionnaires wanted to make an example of on the chopping block in Helgen. There would be no marauding bandits under Imperial rule, and all of their gear was confiscated. Rather than feeling sorrow at the loss of his gang, the Iron Raider felt a cold fury burn inside of him as the Imperials took his trusty pickaxe and enchanted gear. The fury was not directed at the Legionnaires, no, it was directed at himself for being weak enough to let them take from him. Trial by might, victory by strength, finders keepers. These are mantras that the Iron Raider lives by, so he has no one to blame but himself for his predicament. He toes the line between a neutral evil and chaotic evil character, being self-serving but with a wild streak that cannot be tamed. He very well may just kill Nazim for looking at him the wrong way and feel no remorse for it. With this character, we have a rule not to save scum when plundering. If the guards catch you, serve your jail time. Or even more fun, attempt a jailbreak. Where pretty much every other build we've ever made specifically avoids jail time, we encourage it with the Iron Raider. It adds to an already unique experience. Upon leaving Helgen, he immediately takes to the hills, knowing that he needs to get a foothold in the country before he can turn a profit raiding these tombs. He first raids Embershard Mine to get a pickaxe, torch, and iron to smelt himself some armor. After that, we headed east through the mountain pass until he reached the rift. After a few nights in the wilds, he comes upon Nilheim, a Nordic tower occupied by masquerading bandits. The tower is located on a scenic peninsula surrounded by water with a steep cliff on one side, making it a perfect hideout that could easily be defended. He activates his orcish berserker rage and slaughters the bandits living there and takes the tower for himself. Nilheim will be his primary player home. Enemies never respawn there, the bedrolls are usable, and the chest at the top of the tower is safe. It's the perfect home base for a bandit, and it always felt great to come home to after a raid. Word reaches him of the Thieves Guild in Riften, which he joins reluctantly as an organized way to fence his stolen goods. However, he does not exactly play by their rules. Subtlety is not his style, and he couldn't care less about their pact with Nocturnal. But re-establishing their presence in Skyrim gives him access to fences all over the country where he can cash in his stolen loot, so he is highly motivated to set up a criminal network. One night in Riften, he finds a dead thief in the graveyard who is after the Gray Cowl of Nocturnal, a Daedric artifact worn by the legendary Gray Fox. Naturally, this piques the Iron Raider's interest, who follows a bit of a goose chase that takes him to Solitude to forge a land deed, recover an ancestral sword, and meet the Gray Fox himself. He trades you the cowl for the sword and deed and disappears into the night. The Iron Raider cannot believe his luck. He can now don the Gray Cowl, a powerful artifact of Nocturnal, and commit crimes with complete anonymity. The cowl fortifies sneak by 25 points, carry weight by 50, and has a passive detect life effect when worn, so you'll never be caught off guard. It does, however, make all guards hostile towards you, so when you actually have business to do in town, be sure to remove it. But in the wilds of the world, we kept it on at all times. If a guard happens to see you out in the world, you will just have to fight them off. It's a natural reaction to them seeing any wanted thief or bandit. This gameplay kept us on edge, with the danger of the law lurking around every corner. The passive detect life effect is perfect for a Nordic Tomb Raider. He is never caught by surprise by bandits or other questing opportunists. Nocturnal is not happy with the Iron Raider. He wears her cowl not to do petty thievery, but to pillage towns and commit plunder. He holds on to the skeleton key for keeps, refusing to return it. With it, the Iron Raider can brute force his way through any lock, without breaking any lockpicks, which seems appropriate for him. He doesn't care about the glory of the guild, he cares about his own pockets, and his own pockets only. Another piece of roleplay to keep in mind for the Iron Raider is highway robbery. Always take the main roads when traveling, for you never know when a wealthy merchant will be walking by just begging to have their pockets lightened. There are no shortage of travelers along the roads, and the Iron Raider does not discriminate against who he robs. This bit of roleplay commitment, more than anything, made us really feel like a bandit. The Iron Raider kills bandit chiefs because he doesn't want rivals threatening his dominance over the wilds of Skyrim. To him, these leaders are competitors, claiming territories and resources he sees as his own by right of conquest and survival. Eliminating them not only ensures his control over the region, but also sends a clear message: no one challenges the Iron Raider and lives. It's less about morality and more about solidifying his reign as the true scourge of Skyrim's wilderness. Eventually, he does make his way back to Whiterun, where he agrees to do a favor for the local Jarl. But the stewards of the holds eye him with wariness and correspond with letters across holds about the orc they are letting into their cities. The following are excerpts from these letters. From Proventus Avenici, steward to Jarl Balgruf of Whiterun, to Anuriel, steward to Jarl Lila Lawgiver of Riften. To Anuriel, steward of Riften. I hope this correspondence finds you well amidst the chaos of these uncertain times. I write to you with a matter most peculiar and concerning. Reports of an orc, a tomb raider, and a self-proclaimed dragonborn, whose activities have been of the utmost concern here in Whiterun. What makes this tale all the more troubling is the growing suspicion that this individual may also be the infamous Gray Fox. I have voiced my concerns to Jarl Balgruf, but he saw it fit to name this orc Thane of our hold. Can you believe it? How can it be possible that the Dragonborn operates with the cunning and lawlessness of a common bandit? Are we to believe the divines would imbue their chosen with such dubious morals? The idea undermines the very fabric of my faith. My sources indicate he has been targeting bandit chiefs, and often asks me for bounties, yet his motivations remain unclear. Is he eliminating rivals for personal gain, or is there a deeper game at play? His actions paint a portrait not of a hero, but of one with a dangerous ambition to consolidate power in the underworld. Do you have any intelligence from Riften or the Ratway that might clarify his identity or intentions? Has the Thieves Guild shown any interest in this figure? Any information would be greatly appreciated, for this orc has unsettled many in Whiterun, and we must prepare accordingly should his ambitions extend further. Yours in vigilance, Proventus Avenici. To Preventus. Your concerns about the orc are valid, and my sources in the Ratway confirm that he indeed allied with the guild, and is likely the Grey Fox. Yet, pray tell, Preventus, what are we to do? He is the Dragonborn, a figure that people revere, regardless of his methods. For all his transgressions, his actions have brought undeniable benefit to the Rift. He has eliminated the region's most powerful bandit lords, all but saving Shore's Stone from marauders at Fort Greenwall. He has allied himself with the Dawn Guard and terrorizes vampires, even clearing out Redwater Den and severing a notable skooma pipeline. My sources say he resides alone in Nilheim. Though provocative, his presence has been a net positive for our hold. We must tread carefully. Condemning him outright may alienate those who see him as a protector, while ignoring his exploits risks emboldening him further. Sometimes I see shadows outside my window at night and hear heavy breathing. I fear it might be the raider. Your counsel in this delicate matter would be most welcome. Yours in strategy, Anuriel, steward of Mistvale Keep. To Anuriel. Your observations are noted, but I find little comfort in them. An outlaw, even one deemed Dragonborn, cannot be allowed free rein, no matter the benefits he's inadvertently provided. Still, I accept your judgment for now. However, I insist notices be sent to all holds to apprehend him if possible. That said, most fear he could decimate an entire guard force in retaliation. I hear he has already escaped prison more than once and left blood in his wake. Caution is paramount. This damnable Nord prophecy chooses strange champions in these perilous times. Respectfully, Preventus Evanici, steward of Dragon's Reach. Indeed, the Iron Raider is a volatile host for the Dragonblood, but his efforts seem to be guided by the hand of fate. For in the deep dark of the Nordic tombs he raids, he is sometimes challenged by an ancient dragon priest, who he puts down, thus weakening the hold of the ancient dragon cult. For every dragon he slays, there is one less flying terror to burn down a city. His quest for power, glory, and riches may not be benevolent, but he ends up being a sort of hero in the end, slaying dragons to devour their souls, slaying Harkon for access to vampiric treasures, and Mirak, who hoards a different kind of wealth. The Iron Raider also joins the College of Winterhold specifically to study enchanting from Sergius Turianus, who he treats with deep respect as a mentor. The Raider has always had a deep respect for enchanting, and learning it himself proved difficult but rewarding. With it, his pickaxe becomes more than a tool, but a deadly arcane weapon that can stand toe-to-toe with the mightiest warriors in the realm. Relevant side quests for the Iron Raider include all treasure hunts, the treasure map quests, No Stone Unturned, and finding Ethereum shards in Lost to the Ages. All quests involving delving deep into Nordic tombs and Dwemer ruins are great fits for the Raider, such as Forbidden Legend, Deathbrand, Lost Legends, and Unearthed. Now let's discuss kitting out the character. The Iron Raider carries two powerful pickaxes that he swaps between depending on the combat situation. The first, and his primary weapon, is an ancient Nordic pickaxe called Vein Sever, enchanted with Absorb Health and Absorb Stamina. The second is a standard pickaxe called Soul Pyre, enchanted with Fiery Soul Trap and Fear. This is the Iron Raider's preferred method of harvesting souls for his enchanting adventures, a terrifying flaming pickaxe that strikes fear into the hearts of his enemies and sends them running, beginning an epic chase for the fate of their soul. Fortify one-handed enchantments will make these pickaxes a viable one-handed weapon, and the low damage is compensated for by stealing health. And when you're wielding a torch as the Iron Raider, you're packing more than just a light source for the deep dark of Nordic tombs. We love the idea of this brutal bandit swinging a torch wildly about, setting his enemies on fire. Bashing while blocking sets enemies ablaze, just like a weapon with a fire enchantment, and doing so even levels your block skill. A torch deals 3 bonus fire damage over 1 second per bash, but because burn damage stacks, you can rack up some serious damage with a few well-placed deadly bashes. It's a lot better than we ever gave it credit for. You can even stagger-lock dragons with it if you have enough stamina, or eat some vegetable soup beforehand. A torch burns out after 4 minutes of holding it out in-game, but if you sheath and re-equip it before then, the timer resets, letting you use it indefinitely. We like to imagine the Iron Raider has a simple flame spell handy, sparking his trusty torch from the pack he carries, making him the ultimate raider lighting up the night. We started our playthrough by swiping as many torches as we could from cave walls, just in case we accidentally let one burn out. But then we stumbled across this video. This unnamed torch, referred to recently as Hrodolf's torch or the Shadow Torch, is a unique torch, likely a dev tool left behind in the game that is completely weightless, never burns out, and casts dynamic shadows without any sort of visual mods. That's right, a torch that never burns out. You can find it behind the False Cabinet in Hrodolf's house, an abandoned shack southwest of Fort Frostmoth on Solstheim. We recommend heading there at your earliest convenience to snag this legendary artifact, just when you think you've seen it all in this game. Moving on to the Iron Raider's armor combination. He wears an armor combo that we call Raider's Plate. He of course wears the Gray Cowl, only taking it off when he has to do business in town, then wears a rugged combination of iron and gray leather that we think looks the part of a bandit lord. He will enchant his bandit iron armor with Fortify Health and Fortify Stamina regen, his Brawler's Iron Gauntlets with Fortify One-Handed and Fortify Block, Linway's Boots which Fortify Sneak by 15%, and a Silver Ring enchanted with Fortify One-Handed and Fortify Health. He will also wear an Amulet of Dibella for plus 10 to Speech, making it easier to cross the threshold of Intimidation for many checks, and get better prices you sell loot for. Once your speech is high enough, you can swap this out for an enchanted amulet of Fortify Health and Fortify One-Handed. Finally, he will wear the Adventurer's Backpack which fortifies carry weight by 75 and stamina by 20. For shouts, we used Bend Will frequently when raiding bandit camps, showcasing the Iron Raider's ability to turn a bandit chief's underlings against him. Unrelenting Force is the perfect chaotic move to begin combat with. He also frequently uses Disarm, Dismay, Marked for Death, and Dragon Rend, since he lacks ranged options to take care of dragons with. He may have a spare crossbow or bow stashed in his pack from a recent looting run that he can use when his back is against the wall, but it certainly isn't his proficiency. Moving on to the Iron Raider's stats and perk spread. We chose to level him with a ratio of 2 in health to 1 in stamina. He needs the extra meat to withstand up close and personal blows from enemies. He uses the Steedstone primarily for the extra carrying capacity so you can more thoroughly loot tombs of all their worth. But the weightless armor is a nice plus as well and allows for a bit of stealth in his gameplay. With the plus 100 carry weight from the Steedstone, the plus 75 from the Adventurer Backpack, and the plus 50 from the Gray Cowl, you'll have a whopping plus 250 to carry weight. You'll be able to haul everything you could ever want out of a crypt. Finally, we are playing as an Orc for the amazing racial ability Berserker Rage, and because there's something just special about being a brutal Orc bandit. The Iron Raider may be a warrior by definition, but he takes perks from all 3 categories, warrior, thief, and mage, to combine for some unique and chaotic gameplay. By the time you reach level 40, you'll want the following perks. In One-Handed, take all 5 in Armsman, Fighting Stance, Savage Strike, Critical Charge, and all 3 in Hack and Slash. Though Bleed doesn't do all that much damage, when it compounds with the fire effect from your torch, it's actually a significant amount of damage over time that we roleplay as the Raider, wearing his opponents down with his endless energy. In Block, take 1 in Shield Wall so that you can get Power Bash, Deadly Bash, and Quick Reflexes. This increases your torch bash damage and lets you stagger lock even dragons with a Power Bash of your torch. In Destruction, we'll be taking Novice Destruction so that we can get both in Augmented Flames. These perks apply to the fire damage that your torch deals, and again, every little bit of damage helps out with your torch's damage over time. In Enchanting, take all 5 in Enchanter, Insightful Enchanter, Corpus Enchanter, and Extra Effect. The Iron Raider will be perking some lesser used trees as well. In Speech, take 1 in Haggling for marginally better prices when selling your loot, then all the way up the right side of the tree to Intimidation. Again, whenever possible, the Iron Raider uses the Intimidate option. In Lockpicking, take Novice through Adept Locks, then Golden Touch and Treasure Hunter to find more gold and valuables when you're looting crypts. Finally in Sneak, we're putting just 3 perks in Stealth and 1 in Backstab for situational assassinations. 3 is plenty here, as the Steedstone removes armor weight and the Gray Cowl along with Linway's Boots both increase our stealth. If you plan to play past level 40, we would absolutely put a focus on smithing to upgrade his armor and adding a few points in heavy armor. The extra tankiness goes a long way for a warrior character like this wearing relatively weak armor. Additional perks you'll want to seek out are Prowler's Prophet for enhanced looting, Force Without Effort, Seeker of Sorcery for 10% improved enchantments, Secret Servant to ensure you always have a Daedric underling to carry out more loot from tombs, and Lover's Insight for the 10% better prices and a situationally useful improved damage against the opposite sex. Alright, moving on to our favorite part of every build, the special moves. In this section we like to take Skyrim's mechanics and put them under a microscope, and find ability combinations that add more depth to your playthrough. First up is Stone Shatter, which is your go-to move for powerful combat. Absorb health scales with damage dealt, and Berserker Rage doubles damage. Combining Berserker Rage with Vein Sever makes you nearly immortal for the duration of the ability and is perfect for tough fights. Next up is Ruthless Fire, performed by chugging a bowl or two of vegetable stew before stagger locking an enemy with Deadly Bash and Augmented Flames. Vegetable Stew and Torch bashes both stack, so you can lock even the toughest enemies into compounding burn damage. On human-sized enemies, we like to roleplay this as the Iron Raider holding them down and searing them with his torch. Next we have Apocryphal Pockets, which combines the carry weight of the Adventurer Backpack, Steedstone, Gray Cowl, and the Dremora Butler from the Secret Servant ability. The Iron Raider pulls out all the stops to make sure he can carry everything home. Finally, we have Reckoning Roar, performed by using Unrelenting Force to open combat. With Force Without Effort and Dragonborn Force, your Orcish Thume staggers, disintegrates, and sends enemies flying. The perfect opening for a Soul Harvest, where you will then use Soul Pyre to harvest bandit souls and send them fleeing in terror at your might. The Detect Life enchant on the Gray Cowl ensures you can stealthily position yourself to line up as many enemies as possible. And with those special moves completed, it is time to wrap up this build video. If you've ever wanted to experience Skyrim through the eyes of a bloodthirsty bandit, the Iron Raider will satisfy that craving. From the thrill of pillaging without consequence thanks to the Cowl of the Grey Fox, to delving deep into Nordic tombs, scouring for forgotten treasures, this build was an absolute high-octane blast from start to finish. Let us know how your Iron Raider fares in the comments below. Shout out as always to the incredible Vinsvept for his composition Light Up the Night, which is just the right amount of metal for this raider. Be sure to visit the links in the description to join our ever-growing Discord server, and check out our merch shop to cop some sweet Skypothesis swag. Remember, we'll be back next month with another build for you all. Until that time, Wanderers, may your pickaxes stay sharp and your torches burn bright. Please remember to like and subscribe to help us keep the magic of Skyrim alive. We'll see you next time, right here on Skypothesis.